Hi everybody, I'm Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, please remember you can subscribe to the channel with a thumbs up on the video, or you can subscribe to the Patreon to give me a hand with review copies, or mainly you can just leave a comment in the comment section below to talk about the games in question, about whether you agree or disagree, or just the video in general. We'll get on with it in just a second, but first, quick word from my sponsor. As a fellow gamer, you'll understand this is unacceptable. The solution? Head down to my new sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk. KIENDA stocks many of the hot new releases as well as some old hidden gems. Free delivery on orders over £30, further discounts on bulk purchases, and even 5% of your spending refunded back to you as points to be used for further discounts down the line. If you use the referral link in the description below and sign up for a new account, you'll get 5% discount on your first order over £60. So let's make gaps in your collection a thing of the past. Get down to KIENDA and start saving today. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the video.
Get on with it.
And thank the maker it's cooled down enough to the fact that it's not 30 degrees in here anymore. The heat wave is gone. It is back to normal British summer. You know, still warm, but not to the point where I'm literally melting in front of the screen. That was a little bit unbearable the last time. But this is not the planned top 10 I was planning to do. People are wondering where's that series you're going to do on 2-player games. It is coming. Do not worry. I am going to do that still. But I ordered a few recent 2-player games that I need to get to the table, because not only am I doing them for KIENDA reviews, but I also want to see if they could make lists. You know, I want to try and play as many games as I can before I do those lists, and so I thought, give me some time to just play those, review them, you know, and then I'll get those lists out. So I thought, well, hang on, let's rekindle another list that I still need to do, which is my top 10 retrospective look at 2021. I wasn't a fan of 2021 in terms of games last year, and not much has changed. Yeah, not much has changed at all, really. I still think that 2021 was overall a bit of a weak year.
There'll be plenty of time to discuss your objections when and if you return.
And I know I've been saying that a lot with previous years, but honestly, I kind of do think that. We peaked in the early, 2010s, you know, 2012, 2011, and then, there was some spurts in, 2016, 2017, really good years then. But, yeah, 2019, 2020, 2021, they've been kind of lackluster. And it's not just because COVID, it is just the fact that I think that we do get some really good quality games, but I think we are kind of rinse and repeating the same formula a bit lately, and we're just not putting out enough belters, enough ones that I can go, oh yeah, this is shelf worthy, it's gonna go there now. So yeah, I mean, it's an improvement, you know, but what I tend to try and do is, because a lot of games get released at Essen, which is literally the end of the year, it's a little bit tricky to get them all played. So I tend to do a top 10 list at the end of the year, and then about 6 months later, or 6-7 months later, I'll do a retrospective look where I go back to that top 10 and revisit it. See if any games have moved down, or even moved up, or just fallen off the list to get altogether, or perhaps there were some new games I've played since then, made in 2021, that I can go, oh yeah, this is worthy to the list. I feel these are quite useful lists actually, because you can sometimes get caught in the spur of the moment, or the fact that a game releases say in December, you don't get a chance to play it and so it misses out on the recognition. This is a way for me to give that recognition and to talk a little bit about how some games may have just maybe, you know, improved in themselves as I played them more, or maybe actually just degraded a bit over time. As I say, get as much use out of this as you can. So without further ado, let's get cracking.
Get on with it.
And of course, if you want to check out the previous top 10 of 2021, then by all means, just click at the banner at the top of the screen. I hope I'm pointing in the right place, but I did it last year, so by all means, go watch it. I'm going to make reference on this list as to where some of them were, but still, it'd be nice if you could check out that list at the same time. Anyway, my number 10 was my number 2 last time. Yeah, this one has dropped quite a bit. Not to do with the game not being fun though, because after all, it made my top 10 in 2021. But it's just the fact that these sort of games kind of, they suck you in for the initial bit, and then without further content, it's tricky to get them played. This is Role Player Adventures. Role Player Adventures from Thunderworks Games is really good fun the first time you play it. And that's the thing, I've now played it all the way through. It's a campaign game utilizing the similar mechanics to Role Player. So you've got your D&D-esque character in a sense. It's not D&D, but it's like similar. It's portraying it. And you go through this big campaign with either a pre-generated character, which is recommended, or one of your imported ones from Role Player. And you go through these different maps, these scenarios, and you read an encounter book. In terms of mechanics, you draw the dice out of the bag, and the tests require different dice of different colors, of different numbers, and you're using the cards in your hand, which are basically like magic scroll, magic missile, spear, jab, orb of destruction, whatever, you know, those kind of things, and you're manipulating the dice in order to meet the puzzle required. It had a lot of branching paths, it was a really decent story, and I felt that if I wanted to go through the game again, I would get a slightly different path. If I want to play it again, this is the problem. It's the same with legacy games. I played through it and I had a really good time. It has not left my shelf downstairs since then, because it gives you all these different characters you can play. There's like 50 plus characters in there, possibly even more, each with the backstories from the expansion booklet I've got, right? I've played through one character with one or two of those backstories. But if I play through the entire campaign again to try out a different one of those, I'm still going through the same plot. Yeah, okay, instead of saving this chicken, I decided to kill said chicken. Oh well, that gives me a slightly different keyword for later. It's not enough to make me really want to go through the entire thing again, and it was like 12 odd scenarios. It took a while to do, and I'm going to recognise a lot of the major plot points, and it just won't feel the same to go all the way through. It's taken me forever just to go through the Spreading War campaign box for Lord of the Rings Journeys to Middle-earth, and now I've got Tainted Grail on the table in there, ready to start Age of Legends. Campaigns take a while, and they falter for me. I play them once and I go, yes, great. Now what? For the money cost, for the time commitment, I do prefer games that don't commit you to scenarios. You know, that's why Mansions of Madness beats Journeys to Middle-earth, because Mansions of Madness is scenario based and Journeys to Middle-earth is a campaign. It's just, I'd like to be able to get the game off the table eventually without having to commit so much time. And that is the problem with role-player adventures. Yes, more content is coming out, but hurry up.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
When number 9 shifted to number 8, it's pretty steady at this point. I even played it last week at Manacon actually, so it was good to get this to the table again. And it still sits down there in a big box, which surprises a lot of people, because people think, Luke, you're not a big fan of Cranio Creations games, are you? No, not particularly, although to be fair, I like Newton. I hate Lorenzo the Magnifico, yeah, fair enough. I hate Barrage with a passion. You know, so like, what would you like this game then? Gollum is actually a good fun game. I like it. It's meaty, it's very thinky, but I like the fact that this is basically your comborific engine builder game of choice when you get to this sort of level, because you're essentially moving these golems across 3 different tracks, and it's all, I mean, the theme is not even there. It is a straight up Euro game, but the way that you manipulate just simply taking 2 marbles off this weird contraption to select your actions, which change every round, and the different rabbi actions that you can do, using those to manipulate your golems and students on those 3 tracks to get different levels of income, to get different bonuses, activate this golem, get this bonus, move it along, activate another one, which then allows you to get this book, slide the book down, generates this, which allows you to then activate this development. It's one of those style of games that you have these power turns and it feels very satisfying. The rules take a little bit to get down, but not too bad. I mean, I hadn't played it for a while and it didn't take me long to get that, oh yeah, that means this, that means this, that means this. If I have any kinks in the armor, which is probably why it deserves to drop down a spot, is that I do think out of the 3 development paths, you've got the books, you've got the golems, and then you've got the gold. I do think the gold is traditionally the most powerful of the 3. I think if you can get a head start on those gold bars and activate some of that section, you're kind of already set for life at that stage, whereas the other 2 require a bit more work. As I say, I'm sure there's a lot of Golem fans that are going to dispute that, but that's just the way I'm seeing from experience. But the game is still really good fun, still good meaty decisions, could do better on the artwork perhaps, and certainly that contraption can get a little bit finicky at times, but it's just a really cool heavy Euro that for now I still want to hang on to. Do I prefer it to Newton? Hit or miss. I don't know, they're kind of on the same level as each other for me, but I get a good kick out of this, and for the while it's going to stick around. My number 8 has dropped similar to the same reason that Role Player Adventures dropped further on the list, because I think this was my number 3 last time, and that is the poster child for anything by Brian Lockett these days, which is Sleeping Gods. Sleeping Gods is still on the shelf, and I do intend to go back through that campaign and play it some more times. Go a different route, because it is as open world as it possibly can get. Zelda Breath of the Wild, eat your heart out. You have Sleeping Gods where the world is so vast and so different no matter which way you go. It's insane. I mean, the whole objective is that you're meant to find these totems or whatever and get off the area or something. You go through it and it's like, right, you found 6 totems. Well done, yeah. There's 54 in the game that you could find. What? Seriously? Wow, the content in that thing is ridiculous. But what makes this one drop is the same reason as Role Player Adventure does. It's the commitment. I gotta get it out, leave it on the table, and then spend the time, hour after hour, which is still a good 15 hours of my time at least, to go through the campaign and play it. As fun as it is, it's got great stories. I love the fact it's so open world. Everywhere feels different. You never sort of go to a spot and you're like, oh, I found a tree. Well, that was fun, yeah. I'm just wandering aimlessly. I don't know what I'm really doing, you know, unlike something like Seventh Continent, for example. This one, I feel like whichever way I go, I'm going to find some cool adventure and then recurring characters. It really does feel like a cool game and story. But I have to have 9 characters on the table to play it solo. And I need to leave it on the table because the save function is diabolical in terms of the rule set. So again, it's that commitment. I do want to play it a second time through though, unlike say the campaign of Role Player Adventures. That's why that one's higher than that one. But when am I going to get to do it? I hate these time commitments that I have to make with a lot of these games, and that's why they do drop. I say, you can't say it's your #1 game of the year on the basis you're going to play it once, enjoy it, and then never play it again. That, for me, doesn't sit well in terms of rankings, but Sleeping Gods is still really good fun. I look forward to the time I get to play it through again, and as I say, the fact that I do want to play it through again has got to speak some volumes. My number 7 was my number 7 last time. Yeah, it hasn't changed. This one has not changed, and this one is divisive among players. Some people like it, some people don't, some people prefer the original, some people prefer this one. I personally prefer this version of the widely acclaimed Eurogame dominant species, Marine. Yeah, this is my preferred one of the two. There's a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, the whole marine creature thing I kind of like more anyway. Two, as much as neither of them are particular lookers, this one at least still had a little bit of an aesthetic upgrade compared to the original one. Cones, seriously. But the other factor is that this one has a different type of turn sequence to the other one. The other one involves you programming all those different actions that you can do before they all resolve. The problem is, that's incredibly punishing because you program stuff and then somebody does something that you can't really expect or plan for, and then your whole turn is wasted and you've just wasted the last like 30 minutes of the game doing that. That sucks. But this one, you do it worker placement sort of in order. So you do it and then you put the thing down and you do the action. You do this and you do the action, but you're restricted on where you can go based on where your last action was. That's cool, it's streamlined, and it's simpler, and it's less punishing. If anything is holding this game back, it's the rules with the card system, and I'm still looking for a house rule on this. You have the cards that come out that do cool effects and events. That I really like. The problem is that you do get into a situation where somebody takes a card and then another card flips out, which is perfect for the person who's next. They then take that card and cause calamity or run away with the victory. It's a little bit annoying, and it does irk a couple of friends that I have. It's one of their big bugbears with the game, and it's my personal bugbear with this. If anybody's got a house rule of how to do that card display better so it's less fluky, I'd be interested to know. But other than that blemish, everything else about the game I really like. I like the interactivity with the players. It's vicious area control. You're interested in what the other players are doing. You want to know where they're going to go on that track. Are they going to make that food supply run out in that area? Are they going to take that hex bonus before you do? And I like the cards and the theme that's integrated with this. It's a cool game. Really fun to play. Doesn't take too long compared to the original dominant species either, although that's helped by the fact you can only cap it at 4 players. Seriously, I don't need 6 players to play a game like this. But yeah, the action differences and the theme and that, I just prefer this one to the original. But I can't boost it any higher in the list because that card system is still a little bit flawed and it hurts it. Seriously, if there's a good solution out there, let me know. Okay, if the downfall of a couple of games further down the list was not entertaining enough for you, then how about a brand new game to the list? Yeah, this one was not played by the time I did my last list. I have since played it several times. I've even done a review of it. In fact, I think I did a review of it in January, actually. Yeah, I gave it the beans about the end of December and start of January, so yeah, it only just missed the list. But I've been going on this whole trick-taking phase, as you well know, so trick-taking games are really starting to come into their own for me. I mean, I've always liked them, but yeah, I've liked Diamonds and a couple of other ones that I've had, but with editions like The Crew and this one and one or two others, I'm like, yeah, trick-taking's really coming in, you know, it's really doing it for me. And this one, Brian Boru, the High King of Ireland, is a bit of a surprise.
I don't think any of us expected him to say that.
I honestly looked at the box and I thought, ugh. Doesn't exactly look much in the way of artwork. And then looked at the board and it's like, well, it's clean. It kind of looks like something Ian O'Toole would do, but yeah, that's kind of pretty basic. It's like, what do you actually do with this game? And then the artwork on the cards is not my style. So I was thinking like, skeptical, but I'll give it a shot. I actually really enjoy this. Essentially, your area control is an area control game over Ireland. I forget the time period. It's history, whatever. You're playing a trick-taking game. You really care, but to do with the Viking areas.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
And the idea is that you are playing tricks in order to dictate where you're going to put your control markers on the map. But as well as caring about where you're controlling on the map in terms of all in one region or diversify, both of which are useful, you've also got three separate things around the board that you've got to contend with. You've got a marriage track, which gets you a bonus card at the end, which can be really handy. You've got the Vikings attacking, or is it the Vikings or something's attacking you, and the idea is that if you don't contribute enough to the invasion, then you suffer. But if you contribute the most, you get rewards. And the monastery part on the other side is one to get like more fortified control markers, but also to get first turn. And you know, all of those three things are useful, but you won't be able to do well at all three. But then you're also trying to control areas. And you play these cards numbered 1 to 20 something, 26 odd, different colors, and you can choose not to follow suit. But if you do follow suit and have the highest number, you'll win the trick and you get to put your control marker down. It's, like I say, sounds a little jumbled. I'm not doing the best job of explaining it, but I find it to be a relatively simple rule set, despite the fact the rulebook is not perfect, Osprey Games. But the general feel of playing that trick-taking game and all those tight decisions. I mean, I think you draft the cards at the start of the round anyway. Yeah, you draft those, and then you're trying to think, I really need those Viking tokens, but am I going to win this trick or do I hold it back and deliberately lose the trick so I get the bottom action instead of the top? But if I don't play it this round, because you won't play every single card, it's like, if I don't play it, then I'm going to really suck at the marriage track and I could really do with raising on that. It's like the decisions are painful in a good way. You know, I love the card system, I like the area control system, it feels clean, nothing of it feels too clunky. I just wish the rulebook maybe explained it a bit better. But yeah, this was a big surprise for me. I honestly didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And I know there are some people I know who aren't as big fans of it, but you know what? I like it. It's staying on my shelf downstairs. It's in the Calyx Osprey section, effectively, which is essentially half or like 3/4 of the Calyx shelf. And yeah, I like it. I don't care about the theme. The aesthetics are hit and miss. But you know what? Trick taking with area control, I'll take it. Okay, instead of brand new to the list, why don't we try a riser? Yeah, this is the first game actually, I think, on the list that's risen up the list since being on the previous one. And the main reason for that is that it's gotten a lot of plays, but I've also appreciated how effective this is as a gateway game. I love Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders is a fantastic card game. Anybody who tells you that Seven Wonders the card game is a gateway game is lying.
Yeah, in your bra.
I'm sorry, it is not a suitable gateway game. You cannot give me a smorgasbord of iconography and expect that to be a gateway game. Seven Wonders Architects, on the other hand, though, is a gateway game, and I have used it to teach people who have not seen games before, and it's gone down great even with 7 players. This one has risen since I think it was number 9 last time. Now it's my 5. I like this as a good palate cleanser for myself, you know, because yeah, it's light and it's fairly lucky. But you know what? For a game that literally comes in a box like this big, I mean, it's a pretty chunky box, that literally you can set up in about 30 seconds, because you just give everybody a tray, they get their bits out, and then you put some bits in the middle. Job done, 30 minutes, you're almost ready to teach the rules. Okay, 2 minutes later and the rules are taught. Let's get started. It really is that simple. And your turn is literally to choose whether I want the middle deck to draw a card from or one from either side that you can see. But of course, is your neighbor going to take that card? Do you want to take the card that gets you the cat statue, knowing that somebody else over there could draw on their next turn? You know, do you get some, you know, do I draw the red card knowing that a war is about to start? Well, if I do, I could win against you, I could win against you. Maybe I should take a cheeky shield right now.
Well, I like war, but I wouldn't say I love it.
There are some interesting tactical choices to make, but yes, okay, there is an element of luck, especially if you draw from the central random deck. But it's just a very neat spin-off from Seven Wonders. It does not replace Seven Wonders. They play very differently, and there's definitely a complexity level difference between the two. But as a gateway game, I think it works solidly. I played it at Manicon, I think, the other week, and I took it to a friend's house. I might even take it to my friend's house tonight, actually. In fact, maybe I'll take it to the 24-hour gaming marathon I got this weekend. You know, it's a nice, easy game, and let's face it, after playing games for 24 hours, I'm going to need something light by the end of it. But yeah, you know, more on that. If you're confused about what I'm talking about, check out the 24-hour gaming marathon video I did about a week ago. That is impending this weekend. But yeah, it's solid. It's well produced. It's super simple. It's gateway level. It's not the cheapest game in the world, but with the components and everything you get in it, can you really blame it? It's a really solid game. I enjoy it. Seven Wonders Architects. My number 4 was also number 4 again last time, yes, and it probably could have been higher, possibly even my number 1. Actually, no, that's not happening. But it certainly could have been higher, and even then, I've got to think that, does it deserve to be 4? Should it have dropped? There is a bit of a caveat with this one. When it works, and when I get this game out, it is highly enjoyable. Very thematic, some good historical representation, a different art style, but one that I quite like, and just probably one of the most, most innovative and clever deck builders I've ever played. If only the rule set and setup time actually justified it. Yes, that is Imperium. Imperium is a great game, and in fact, actually, yeah, that's 2 games from Osprey Games on the list. Well done, you. But, this one. I love this game mechanically. Mechanically, I think this deck builder is fantastic. You've got very different civilizations to play, and each one has, some of them have different winning conditions, but all of them play very differently. As you're cycling through your deck, trying to unlock development cards, you're buying these other cards for your deck, and you get into a strategy and you try and rinse it through. And I tend to play this solo because playing it with any more than one player makes the game take forever. I mean, it's usually like a 60 to 90 minute game even by yourself, which is quite long. You have to house rule this game in order to make it shorter, and I still don't know the perfect way to do that. At the moment, I'm literally just trimming out development cards because I think you have to get through so many to win the game. I'm literally saying, well, let's just lop off 2 of those out of the deck and 2 for the AI, and that will bring the timer down a bit. But yeah, it could have really been shorter. But you know, on top of that though, you just have the problem that it's got a big setup time. You've got to set up your deck in a very specific way, then you've got to set up an AI's deck, then you've got the stuff in the middle. That's what stops this being any higher on the list. I mean, I can't remember what I gave it. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10 when or maybe even a 9, I'm not sure, when I reviewed it. But as fun as this game is, those flaws with setup and length are big flaws. I would love, you know, I mean, I'm pretty certain there'll be more stuff to come, and I can't really say much at this point. You'll just have to wait and see. But you know, with this game, a streamlined rule set, preferably written by someone else. Because sorry, Osprey Games, you're not the best at your rule books. It's got to be said.
You cut me deep, Shrek. You cut me real deep just now.
Get a rulebook editor. Go for your rulebook. Set it out not like a textbook with weird letters and that. Don't use GMT as your you know, inspiration for your rulebooks, okay? You know, there are better ways to do rulebooks. This game would be so much better if it did, but it's still my number 4 because when I do get past that barrier, that initial barrier, my god, this is one of the most fun deck builders you will play. I guarantee it, it really is good fun. I don't think I've even played every civilization yet because I've got both boxes, classics and legends, and with more, you know, if they bring more, then oh my word, I'm going to be strapped for choice. But Imperium, bit of a caveat, but still, I think it's worthy enough to be at number 4. Alright, you want a big surprise now? Number 3 is the highest debut on this list. Yes, this was not on the list last time because I hadn't played it. In fact, I've only really played this game in the last, say, month and a half, 2 months, I'd say. But this one is a recent one to my collection. I can't remember what made me buy it. I think I watched Z Garcia's review of it, and I like the stuff that this publisher's already done, so I thought, well, let's give it a try. It's not expensive. It released to retail, I think, in the UK, and I thought, let's get it, let's try it. Wow, this game has surprised me as to how much I enjoy this filler. It was on my top 10 fillers. Yeah, this is Floriferous. This game from Pencil First Games, who I swear are doing a very good job at making these really cool filler games that look beautiful as all get out. And yeah, to correction, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but yes, I said it was Beth Sobel that did the artwork for Floriferous on the last video. That was an error. It's actually down below this name, so full credit to her. I definitely want to check out more of their stuff.
I think she's pretty.
Quiet, bud.
But yeah, this filler game is fantastic. It's so simple. It's a step above Herbaceous. So Herbaceous is the ultimate symbol if you AP on this seriously what is wrong with you game. Floriferous is the next step up, where you've got the columns of cards with different flowers and a scoring card at the bottom. You have a pawn marker that represents turn order from top to bottom, and you essentially go 1, 2, 3 through all the column of cards, and then the game ends. But what you're doing is you select a card to take, whether it's a flower card or a scoring card, and then once everybody's taken from one column, you move on to the next one, and then the turn order is now where the pawns are now relative to each other. So turn order keeps changing, and because you can see all the cards that are coming, you have to bear in mind later on, it's like, I really need that scoring card that scores me for that same bug, but I think you want it as well. That means I need to take the top card in that column so that I go first in that round to take that card. Very cool, easy decisions to make in the sense of, oh, they're not too complex, but oh, they hurt. They hurt. You look at those cards and you think, oh, I really want that, but then I really should take this card, but if I do, then you're going to nick that one. It's like I said, I know it sounds weird to sort of like the idea that you have painful decisions, but it's more that, I mean, think of this, a game I played called Songbirds. Songbirds has a nice little theme, never played it before, it's a very simple rule set, but my word, does your brain melt from the agonizing decisions you have to make. But I love the card game and I'd love to get a copy of it, but that's the thing. This sort of thing is good fun. It makes for a fun game, but the rules are dead simple. You are done with this game in 30 minutes, even with 4 players, unless somebody is supremely APing it like crazy, and the scores are generally pretty tight. You can never normally call the winner at the end, and I've had some very close finishes where it's been decided by a point or 2 max. Seriously, every point in this game counts, but it looks gorgeous, simple to teach, nice little box. I can sleeve the cards. Yes, you got to chuck the ends up, but who cares? And it was, well, what, like 25 odd quid, I think I spent on it? 20 quid or so. It wasn't that expensive. Seriously, I mean, I like Herbaceous, I like Sunset Over Water, but Floriferous is definitely the best thing I think Pencil First Games has put out. And now they've got a game called Delicious, I think you can pre-order. I better give that one a look. And also something called What Not Cabinet. I've heard of it, never really seen it in action, but everybody kept talking about it on my last list, saying, Luke, you've got to try What Not Cabinet. It's like, well, it's difficult to find a copy at the moment, but if I can, I'll certainly try it. So we'll see. But yeah, this one deserves to leap to my number 3 because it's getting played a lot at the moment, and I gotta give credit where it's due, that a 30-minute filler that can look that good, cost that little, and give me that much enjoyment is worthy of being in the top 3 on this list. And for my number 2, wow, you want something to jump up high. This was my number 10 last time. Yes, this has almost become my number 1 game of the year because I don't think I gave it enough credit last time. I think it should have been higher on the list. But also, I don't think I played... No, I must have played it a decent amount. No, I just honestly did not give it enough credit. You know, because I played it back in August last year, so it's not like I hadn't not enough time to play it. But the amount of times this game has been played since, and how many people I've taught it to, both gamers and non-gamers alike, have gravitated towards it, and just the fact that when I do play it, it's like, whether it's solo or multiplayer, it's so nice, it's so zen, it's even in my bag to take to my game night tonight. It's like, yeah, you know what? I was too harsh on it. Shame on you, Luke. Cascadia gets to my number 2, and it's not because it won the Spiel des Jahres, although deservedly so, although to be honest, with that competition, did you really expect Cascadia to not win that? I mean, God blimey, if I was at AEG and Flat Out Games, I would have literally popped open the champagne bottle the second they announced the nominations, because that was about as surefire as anything.
Me, nah. You guys, yeah. Maybe a little more down in here.
Cascadia is just a wonderful gateway game. It is like beautiful to look at with its nature theme. It's an abstracted game in a sense, but this idea that you have these 5 different animal cards and A to Ds, you've got 4 different versions of each of them. They score in different ways, and each turn all you gotta do is just take one of 4 pairs of an animal token and a landscape tile. Build your little map, try to get the terrain to link up if you can, because bigger groups score more points, but then also you want to think about the animal tokens. Right, well, I can put a bear here. What does the bear want? Right, the bear wants to be in a group of bears with no other bears surrounding it. Right, well, I can put that bear there, I can put that bear there. Oh, but I need that snow tile. Well, the terrain doesn't match, but I need the bear. Okay, fine. You know, alright, well, that's going to mess up my salmon run, but you know what? 4 salmon's fine. I don't need a 5th at the moment. I really need that desert, so I'll put that in there. And these decisions, again, are not terribly taxing on the mind. And it's certainly a better game to play, I think, solo, 2-player. 3 is fine, 4 maybe just takes it a little bit long. I mean, it's not a filler game by any means, but it's just a very nice Zen-like game. You feel relaxed playing it. By the end of the game, whether you do well or not, you just feel in comfort. It's comfort food, and these sort of games are great. Not to mention, it is a gateway game. I've even taught my parents this, and believe me, that's saying something. But people who have never seen a game before, I can teach them Cascadia, and it will bring them in visually. But it's also a good fun game that I will happily play. And the solo challenges are pretty neat as well. You know, they up the difficulty and it allows you to just play a nice quick 30-minute puzzle that looks beautiful and doesn't take long to set up either. I mean, teaching it is a breeze, setting it up is a breeze. You know, what's this my 10? How did this not overtake other games last time? But, well, credit where it's due. It's had a lot more plays since then, and yeah, whatever rating I gave it before, which might have been a 7 or an 8 or something, it's definitely worthy of being a 9 now. This game has just gone over well with me since then. It's improved over time, and yeah, it's just a fantastic game. I'm sorry, Cascadia. Please forgive me. You're now in the spot you deserve to be at my number 2. But of course, we've got to give recognition to like the fantastic publishers Splotter Games with their juicy, meaty, thematic, visually appealing Euros, because 2021 was just the time for that publisher to shine and give me a game that I truly adore and put at my number 1. Of course, yeah, alright, this ain't gonna work. Yeah, get over it.
You're going to burn in a very special level of hell.
You know it, you called it. My number 1 last time was my number 1 this time. Yes, it's Ark Nova. Yay! Of course it's Ark Nova. Ark Nova. Oh man, I want to play Ark Nova right now. I love it so much. It's such a cool game.
You're not sleeping with it, are you, Ray?
Yes, granted, some of you might be sick and tired of hearing about it by now because of the amount of like exposure it gets online, and I'm certainly not the first one to buy into hype, and when I first heard about it, I thought, I'll try it, whatever, but I'm not going to believe everybody's hype right now. Yeah, I've played it, I've reviewed it, check out the review video for more details, but man, I love this game, and if you don't like it, that's fine, but I love it. This great Euro, building a zoo, already that theme gets me in. I love animals, that's already working for me, but the mechanics it throws in, yes, none of them are unique, but they are solid ones. Cards that you buy in order to give you different bonuses and abilities that come from this massive deck, and you've got to play in a tactical manner. I love that aspect of Terraforming Mars, it's just the other aspects of Terraforming Mars I didn't like. But Ark Nova takes the action row selection out of Civilization A New Dawn, another game I really like that's still on the shelf in the other room, and basically takes it up to 11 with these 5 cards that you can flip over to make better, and that mechanic in general I want to see in more games. The idea that if I leave a card for longer it will get more powerful, but then I've got to use other actions before it gets to that point. How can I make this efficient? Every time I play this game, I love it so much. Even the solo mode, which is literally just beat your own score. Although I do like the free challenge mode where you play through 3 solo games. You've got to break even by the end of them, but you're not allowed to use any cards from the previous games. Well, that's a pretty cool challenge. And yes, I know that there's an AI that somebody's designed on Board Game Geek. I'm not the biggest fan of trying AIs and solo modes that have been generated by, you know, third parties and that. I'm more interested if it had an official one, but the normal one in the game does me fine. But honestly, playing this 2-player, 3-player, 4-player, I absolutely adore it. It is thematic, it is engaging. Even when the game takes over 3 hours with 4 players sometimes, I am invested. I'm bantering about the animals that everybody's got, about how your zoo is basically a torture chamber for animals because of its researching and everything. Whereas mine is a zoo that's literally scorched earth. Like, I barely built any of it and it's only got 2 animals in it because I'm trying to use the objective that doesn't want you to build. There's a lot of different maps, there's a lot of different cards, and yes, there's going to be an expansion soon. Well, soon. It'll be a while, next year probably, but to bring aquatic animals in and more cards. Please don't complicate the game too much. Just give me more cards. That'd be great. Oh, cannot wait. I played it twice at Manicon last week. I played it as my first game where I taught people, and then I played it as the last game of Manicon where I played it with 2 players who knew what they were doing. Sublime. Absolutely sublime. In fact, the 24-hour marathon I mentioned earlier, I'm playing a game of Ark Nova early on, I think 9:45 AM in the morning, GMT, or BST, whatever. Yeah, in the morning I'm playing it on their Twitch stream with people who know what they're doing, so I get to play Ark Nova at least once on that weekend as well. I love it. Yeah, it's one of my favourite Euro games that there is. Of course it'll be on my top 100. Where it'll be on my top 100, we don't know. But yeah, I'd be lying to you if I said it couldn't make my top 100. I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 game for me. Spoiler alert, but still, go watch the review if you can. Yeah, I love it. I love this game, warts and all, because it's not a flawless game by any means. You know, the duration is quite long. There is a little bit of a luck aspect with the cards, but it is mitigatable and you do have to play quite tactically. And yeah, there's a lot of rules to get through and the aesthetics could be better. I mean, the money is diabolical. I play always with replacement cash. That is why I have those brass iron clay chips. I bought a box specifically, mainly for that game, but I use them on other games. But yeah, using the poker chips with that game certainly does elevate Ark Nova a bit on that department. So yeah, there are some issues with it, but I overlook them for my personal enjoyment because it's just so much fun. My number one before, my number one this time, I love me some Ark Nova. So there you have it, folks, my top 10 retrospective changed list of 2021. And as you can see, some movers and shakers. I mean, this, out of all the retrospective lists I've done, probably the most volatile, actually, I've got to say. So, goes to show that sometimes you just need to let some games simmer, you know, like cook on the stove for a little bit longer to really bring out their flavour. That's a weird analogy. I guess I'm getting hungry. It's nearly dinner time. But even then, some games can be like, oh yeah, that was brilliant. Oh, right. And they kind of whittled over time. This happens with games, particularly as thousands get released every year. But there's a bunch of other ones I've got on my phone here on my Google Drive list with honourable mentions. So, did any fall off the list last time? I don't... Oh yes, Mortem and Geishers Road. Those 2 games are good. I do really like them, but Mortem, again, it's like the Role Player Adventures and the Sleeping Gods thing. I've played through it, I really enjoyed it, but it's done. I have no interest to play it ever again, so can I really keep it on the list now that I've got rid of it? Yeah, not really. In fact, I think I sold it to a friend of mine. But on top of that, Geishers Road, I do really like it. And I did probably inflate the rating I gave it originally, because I think I gave it a 10, because it is a fantastic 2-player game. But in hindsight, maybe it's closer to a 9, probably maybe even an 8 by now, because as much as Geishers Road is great, it is definitely a step up from the already fantastic Hanamakoji, and if I was to play either of the 2, I'd bring out Hanamakoji in a flash. So perhaps I was a little bit too forgiving on that one, but it's still a really great game, just not top 10 material anymore. But yeah, there's a few others. Living Forest, reviewed it recently, Kennerspiel winner. It is a great game. You could make it my 11 or 12 maybe. I mean, it almost made the list, but I think these other games I just prefer a bit to it. Cryo, I like it fine, but it's not my favourite Euro of that year. But my friends really like it, and I've played it with them, and I do enjoy it, but yeah, not top 10. Probably top 20, maybe. Brew, cool little game where you make potions, put dice out, and it's quite vicious with other players for area control, but very simple, very easy. Yeah, Brew is nice, and it's still on my shelf. What else? We got 2 more? No. Oh no, 2 more. Shamans, Shamans, or however you want to pronounce it. That would definitely probably be a 12 or 13, something like that, because this quirky trick taker again, but with a social deduction element of ever-changing teams where only one player can win, but you're in teams every round, and it's hidden role. It's a very quirky thing. I don't think I've done a review on it, but by all means, check out some details on this. This is an underrated game that's going to fly under the radar because of how quirky it is, but it's a nice, interesting game, particularly if you're into trick takers with a difference. And then, of course, the other one I mentioned, oh, I forgot what it was. Oh, yes, of course. Called Capelli, the one Stefan Feld game I actually think I enjoy, and that's mainly because it doesn't feel anything like a Stefan Feld game. Go figure. But yeah, it's a cool game. It would probably be top 20, not top 15, but probably top 20. But I still enjoy that card game. It's a cool system. It's abstracted to get out, but it's a simple rule set with a lot of variety, a lot of replay value, and some interesting interactivity with your neighboring players. Cool system. And as I say, the fact that I can like a Stefan Feld game has got to speak volumes about it, believe me. But it's definitely the least Stefan Feld feeling game out of his lot though, which probably explains why I like it more, but that's just me. So yeah, a lot of games in 2021, but it was just a bit of a lackluster year for me, you know. There's a bunch of games that I haven't mentioned. I'm sure some of you are like, what? What about this game? This game was fantastic. How could you dare not to mention this game? How dare you? But seriously, you know, different strokes for different folks. If there are games I haven't mentioned, then by all means, get them in the comments and talk about them. Big them up. Tell me why you like them so much. But of course, if there's any games on my list that you think are complete trash, then by all means, give me a reason as to why you don't like it. Don't just trash it for trash's sake. You know, at least give me your reasons why. Even if it's Ark Nova, because I know Ark Nova is not for everybody, and there's, you know, enough people who hate it. But I'd like to know your reasons why. Why do these games irk you, or why do you love the games that I didn't mention? Just get them in the comments. It'd be cool to hear your thoughts. So that's it from me. I'll see you on the next Broken Meeple video. But until next time, bear in mind you can thumb up the video. You can subscribe to the Patreon. You can just leave the comments as mentioned. Subscribe to the channel if you can. Just let me know how you're doing and let me know about the games in question. Until next time, you can check out a couple of important reviews I've mentioned in this review. So firstly, the Ark Nova review, you might want to go check that out. But of course, if you want to check out the last top 10 of 21, which granted I've spoiled a lot, but if you'd like to check it out, that would be great. You can check it out right here. Take care, and remember as always, whatever your viewpoint on 2021 is, they were still only games. Bye for now, everyone. Take care.